One thing that so I know you were reading Atomic Habits, and so
Yeah.
I started reading it too. Like recently, I was like starting to get back into my. I'm just reading like at least 5 pages a day.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Just this book is so good. I
It's
haven't
so
read it
good,
in
dude.
a long time, but it's such a good one to review and go through. Just makes so much sense. It's like, oh yeah, I forgot. Like, how did I forget that? Like, it's
Yep.
just a simple thing of like kind of stacking those habits, and also within it is like the identity change piece that I,
Hmm.
for the long time, I remember my program was all surrounded around identity change. But it's also crazy how you kind of start moving away from that kind of stuff too. And
Hmm.
that's like at the core of it, which was what you were talking about last episode, right? You were talking about like the dream. I think it was the last episode we did, the dream version of yourself and like the
Yeah.
stepping into it. Um, and that's something that I used to do all the time, was just like write that down and just like review it right every day. It's like, okay, like what things am I like keeping top of mind to like move in the direction of like the version of myself that I want to be. And that's something that I, since our last podcast recording, have started reincorporating in.
So you've actually made like a list, or is it more of like a thoughtful, thing that you do throughout the day? Is like how have you implemented it since we talked about it? Like what's your strategy right now?
So I like just took some time and I went through my notes. I just put
Hmm.
it in my notes, and I put in there as well. I just kind of combined it with my goals, right? The 2025 goals
Nice.
and like the process for that. And then I just have the dream version of myself, just a lot of different things. It's like, how do I carry myself? How do I interact with others? How do I, um, you know, how am I showing up on a daily basis for myself and for other people in
Hmm.
my life? And it's one of those things where it's like you're constantly like, oh yeah, I didn't do this or I didn't do that, but it's good. It keeps it top of mind, where it's something that I just have as a reminder in my phone first thing in the morning, just to take a peek at it and just read through all those things. And it's like I'm starting the day. It's like the goal is to embody this, right, and just kind of show up like this. And I've found that it works really well, like as far as like mindset's concerned, at least, puts you in a good, like a better mindset out of the gate.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, because I think there's like we always get there'll be like those ebbs and flows of where we can be so focused on something, and you and I have both gone through those stages, right? I mean, like almost to like extreme points. And then there's also, as soon as time starts to come in between us and just living life, and I think this happens with everybody, is things start to fade or they start to get a little bit gray, or maybe they're not as much as top of mind. And like, and so it's interesting to me to see like how we can go from extreme to extreme. And it's perfect, like what you said with, you know what, dude, I started reading Atomic Habits, and the first thing that you said was like, I just started with 5 pages, and I'm like, that's exactly what they tell you to do in the book, right? Like, it's just like the 2 pages, right? Like they tell you to start small. They tell you to chunk it down into like small digestible steps. And I'm in the chapter right now where it's kind of like middle, like almost 3/4 of the way through the book, where it's talking about showing up for yourself and the power of showing up.
Yeah.
And it's talking about literally simplifying the things that you want to go after and your goals and your ambitions, and chunking them so down to something that doesn't take longer than 2 minutes. And I was like, man, like that's so powerful, because
Yeah.
we want to like, and I'm thinking of clients off the top of my head right now. It's like, I want to get them to show up, and they want themselves to show up for 3, potentially 4 times a week with their workouts. And they're in the mindset of, damn, I missed one workout this week, so this entire week's a wash, right? So we're going through kind of like the all or nothing training with them. But you could see where they're dropping the ball, and you could see it's like, oh, okay, this is exactly what needs to be implemented. They need to not flex the power of showing up and doing their entire workout, but literally just a part of showing up, and like
Yeah.
get in that habit and build that callus. And people that get discouraged or think that that's not enough, you can see why they struggle, right? It like screams. It goes, man, they are so ingrained in like, if it's not perfect, I'm not going to be able to do it. And you can see why they attain those habits. Those are like been ingrained over time through repetition of, well, if it's not perfect and it's not exactly like an awesome workout, and if I don't hit all 3 or 4 of my workouts during this week, this entire week's a wash. Whereas in the book, you and I know it's like, Now, maybe before you even go to the gym, let's practice putting your workout clothes on. Let's just do that. Maybe that's the signal. Maybe that's the trigger that gets you to go. And so it's like breaking it down with this individual client that I'm thinking about right now, and just chunking it down to extreme fundamentals, 2-minute fundamentals. Like it shouldn't take longer than 2 minutes. And that's what I'm implementing with a client going into this week. So I'm excited about that.
Oh, I love it, dude. And that's huge because it's like the whole. I'm actually doing that right now. Well, obviously with reading, like just like
Yeah.
5 pages. I know it's easy to jump into like 30 minutes a day when that's just unrealistic for my schedule right now.
Yeah.
I could probably I could do it, but it would be like some days it would be really stressful to
Hmm.
get that in, and I would be like, rushing to get all like the things that I want to do in, including that. But it's with workouts too. Like it's part of like my morning is like getting some sort of movement in. Even if like today I got like a little full body action in, but it was literally just I did 2 sets of 40 push-ups. I did 2 sets of 20 um, single leg RDLs each leg. I did some God, what was it? I did some ab rollouts, and then I did some bicep curls. And so it was just
Yeah.
like hitting like some sort of full body type workout. And I just did 2 sets of each of those things. And I got it done in 15 minutes, but it was like, it felt like a good workout. Right. But
Yeah.
that was just like every day I'm just doing something like that. And some of the days, like I've like gone in, I'm like, I'm just gonna do a little bit, but I end up doing a little bit more. Right. I
Hmm.
want to do more. And so it's like that. That's the exact thing where it's like some days I read 5 pages and it's like I'm so locked in. I read 8, 10, 12 pages, right? So
Yeah.
it's that's the thing is like you kind of start doing it and then you're like, oh, I want to do more of this. And that's where it is. It's like meeting yourself where you're at. Like what can you actually stick to right now? And then from there on out, you're going to start building this habit. It's like, oh, I show up for myself, like you were saying. But now it's like, oh, you know what? Like this is really easy. Like I'm going to do a little bit more. Like maybe I normally I get up and I do 40 push-ups. And that's where I'm meeting myself where I'm at. Let's do 50
Yeah.
today, 60, 70. All of a sudden, like before you know it, you're at 100 or you've added in some squats or some crunches or something like that. And you've just built yourself more of a workout and you're showing up for yourself in even more of a way. And so I think that's good. And one thing like that just stands out to me, like the biggest thing, I just come back to identity with this because it's so true where he talks about the 3 layers of behavior change, where it's like most people will just be like, oh, I want to lose 40 pounds, right? And that's what they do. And they're like, that's what their goal is. And that's what they think about. And like they don't think about the fact that like below that is the processes or the habits that you go through to do that. Like they're just going to achieve that goal. But then even at that front layer, that base layer of where we need to start for habit change, for behavior change, for goals to be achieved is at like what kind of person are we? Like what kind
Hmm.
of person achieves the 40-pound weight loss and actually keeps it off? Then from there, it's like what habits does that person have that achieves that goal, and then from there we achieve that goal. So it's like this book has really started getting the wheels turning again for me, and it's like it's exciting because like oh yeah, it's like it's you just forget about some of these things that you were so locked in on for years and years and years, and it's just the opposite way of thinking. But if we don't, it's like he gives the example of a smoker. It's like somebody
Hmm.
who is quitting smoking. Somebody who achieves that goal is somebody who says like, "Oh no, I don't smoke." Like to somebody who offers them, and then somebody who doesn't is, "Oh, I'm quitting. I'm trying to quit smoking." It's like, oh, like you haven't fully absorbed the fact that you are not a smoker anymore. You are still in that state of like trying to quit.
Oh yeah, that word trying, right? Like, I posted something about that the other day. Just like that's the word that I wish we could just eliminate. If I could just grab that word and just scratch it off. And when I hear and I have conversations with people who want to improve their health and fitness, and I hear that word try, I try to nip it right away. And I go, man, because you can see where their identity's at. They're still holding on to this old identity where they're like, I'll just dip my toe in the water and it's okay if it doesn't work and it doesn't happen. And they're just wishy washy. They're in no man's land in this gray area. And you're like, no wonder they're struggling. The second they face the first bottleneck or the fork in the road, they're still holding on to their old self. And they're like, oh, yeah. well, I gave it an honest effort, but I'll just go back to what's comfortable and what's normal and what I already have. And you see exactly where they're stuck. And I'm not saying this from like, I'm a perfect standpoint. It's the reason why I brought up the Atomic Habits. And I heard somebody talking about it. I forget why. And I was like, man, you know what? I'm going to pick this book back up again. This will probably be my fourth time reading through it. And then when you and I talked, I had mentioned it because I was just like, I think you and I were going back and forth. And I was like, dude, this book is so good. Like it's so good. It just like reignites and resparks the things. And you can see like in yourself of why you might be struggling or why things feel like you're just like doing this uphill battle of, man, I want to attain these things. Like you mentioned, outcomes. I want to do these certain things. And that's all I'm focused on. And the second I don't have it or I'm not there, I feel discouraged and I feel less than, and I feel like an imposter and I feel all these negative thoughts. And you go, oh yeah, because that's where you're focusing on, right? Like that's we're focusing on that bullseye. I love that illustration of that bullseye that you were talking about. It's like we're focused on the goals and outcomes versus like, okay, establish the goal, establish the outcome. Like we need a target, we need a direction to go. We also need a process to get us there. But it starts with exactly what you said, that identity piece. Like you need to start visualizing yourself as if you're there right now, as if you're somebody who's capable of achieving those outcomes. And easier said than done, right? That's a challenging part. Like that's super challenging. It's like I talk to people who have a lot of weight to lose and like getting them to envision like them being 50, 60, 100 plus pounds lighter than their current state. They're like, I haven't done that since high school or middle school. And these are like 40, 50, 60 plus year olds. Right. And so it's like, there's a huge gap there, which for me, I get excited about because I'm like, cool. Cause once this person overcomes that gap, imagine all the other things. It's just a trickle effect. Like how many other things are they going to be able to accomplish once they get over this? So for me,
Yeah.
I get excited when I see those things. But yeah, it's interesting talking to clients and even just thinking about my own journey and going, am I focused right now so much on the outcome or lack thereof that it's distracting me from doing part of the process, from doing part of the stages that get me there? And then even more so chunking it back further, am I actually picturing and filtering and making my decision making as somebody who already has attained that or achieved that or possesses that? Am I seeing myself as that person? And 9 times out of 10, when I'm struggling, the answer is no. The answer is like, nah, I was missing that piece. That's why when I picked that book back up again, I was like, man, this thing's like gold. We know the answers. They just stray from us from a while. And like, as soon as you read them over again, it like that light bulb goes off and you get juiced again. You're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yep. That's it. So yeah, man.
Exactly, dude. One, it's I love that he talks about the fact that it's any time that we generally are struggling, it's because we're hyper focusing on that goal and we're
Yep.
not focusing on the things that are within our control.
Yep.
But when you think about it as the fact that you could literally just focus on like what kind of person you want to become, it's like, oh, I want to be healthier. I want to be a healthier person. Well, what habits does a healthier person have? You focus on just doing those habits, you're going to achieve the goal that you wanted to without even thinking about what the goal is, right? It's like healthier person. Maybe you wanted to lose 40 pounds, but guess what? A healthier person loses 40 is going to be in better shape, right?
Yep.
Like we can assume that. It's like a
Yep.
healthier person. Oh, what do they do? Well, oh, they work out, right? It's like, okay, well, what can I do to start working out? Maybe, and then you build in like a few minutes of a workout every day, or you walk for 15 minutes a day. And then it's like, oh, well, a healthy person eats a little bit better, right? They eat a little bit more protein. Maybe they eat a little bit more veggies. It's like, I'm going to add a few more things of protein, a few more things of veggies. What else do they do? Oh, well, you know what? They focus on maybe stress management. Like they focus on keeping their
Mm,
stress low or sleep. And it's like all these different buckets. And it's like one at a time, you can just focus on these habits and these processes that a healthy person has in their life. And then all of a sudden it's like before you even know it, with just focusing on, I'm going to do these 4 things every day, or I'm going to do these 2 things every day. And once I've mastered those 2 or 4 things, it's like, I'm going to go do another few things and just keep going and going. And before you know it, you never even thought about the fact that you wanted to lose this 40 pounds, but you've lost the 40 pounds.
right. Dude, that's so huge. And it's the magic in the one word that you said is the becoming piece, which is really cool because I have this on my phone, right? Like, so I'm on the background of my phone right here on my screensaver. so I can see it every day as a reminder. It says at the top, it says start sloppy. Allow your hunger to be for becoming, and becoming's underlined, for becoming more rather than doing more and having more. And so that was a good reminder for me. I heard Myron Golden say that, and he's like,
Mm.
allow that. He's like, use that hunger. He's like, I see a lot of people who have this hunger and they want to use that hunger to like attain things. And he's like, instead, use that hunger and take that energy and channel it to the act of becoming. And he's like, when you use that, you can hold on to your hunger. You can use it as gas. You can use it as fuel versus the short flame that burns out, because you might use it to obtain this thing. And then you look up and you're like, man, I haven't attained that thing. And then boom, poof, it's gone. And you try to do like these shortcuts and like, and I think that when you were talking, the thing that came to mind where, because I was like, the becoming piece is so important. I was thinking to myself, I was like, what's the main thing or number one thing, or maybe it's a couple things that knocks us off that path of becoming. And the first thing that came to my mind is speed. We want things so fast. And I think that's what derails us. And too, that you've dealt with clients. You can probably say the same, that clients or people in general that want the weight loss the fastest, and they want it now and they want it tomorrow, they're so opposite of becoming and process driven, and they're so focused on the outcome piece that you can see like the trials and errors and the things that they just like, the pitfalls in their process because of where their lens is at. They have the energy, they have the fuel, they have the gas to accomplish it, but it's just directed in the wrong spot. It's not in the becoming bucket. It's in the, am I there yet? If not, I need to try something else. I'm going to jump ship because this doesn't work. It's not working yet. It's not working fast enough. And I think that's the biggest thing that derails us. When you were talking, I was like, what gets us, myself included, like what gets me off the path of becoming? What gets me off the path of adopting those characteristics like you were talking about each and every single day? Like what gets me off the path of uh, drilling in that identity piece each and every single day and finding ways to enjoy and love in the becoming piece versus the, am I there yet on the outcome? If the answer is no, damn, I'm discouraged. This sucks. Let me try something else. And it's the speed thing. I think for me, that's the biggest one that stands out, is like, if I don't have it by X date, and I think setting timelines is good too. Like that'll get you to do shit when you don't feel like it. But if I don't attain XYZ by this time frame, or if I don't do it in what I feel like is fast enough, then I will deem, as in my mind, as I failed. This is a failure. It's not attainable. It's not possible. And when we think like that, dude, we make it impossible for ourselves. We're like our biggest enemy in the process. And so it's not like these other things or outside circumstances that derail us. Those are going to happen. But I think even more so is we as humans, we will self-destruct and self-sabotage before any other person will like derail us, like we'll do it to ourselves. And
Yeah.
so it's crazy, man. That's why I really love that you're back on the Atomic Habits too. It's because you and I have both read it, but sometimes rereading it, going back, right? Hermosi, we need to be reminded more than we need to be taught. It's so true. Like we go back and somebody for like you and me who have had those things dialed in to like a T, whereas now time goes on, we may have forgot about it. We go through, we start reading the chapters and we're like, oh man, yep, those it's not like a new light bulb, but it just gets turned back on. And we're just like, oh man, I could see where my pitfalls were. I could see where I can use this to help other people because I had forgotten about it. Like
Yeah.
from a coaching perspective, so it's really cool, man. I love that you're rereading it, going back through again too, because this is honestly, it's like one of those things where you can use it as a reference point. You're never done with it, right? Just like when we're pursuing something and we're going after whatever we want in this act of becoming, once we've achieved the thing, especially like health and fitness, you're never just done. You're never just like, okay, I kick my feet up and relax now. It's like, no, it's a constant pursuit. It might be more seamless and ingrained now, but the thing is, the actions don't just stop. And so, yeah, man, a lot of interesting stuff in there. I love it.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's good shit. And this is good. Like, hopefully you guys have enjoyed this. I'll end it with just, one thing I thought about when you talked about speed is comparison. I think the reason
Mhm.
why we want it so fast is because we see other people maybe getting it faster than us and doing different things. And we assume that maybe what we're doing is wrong. when there's so many different, like there's your own race, your own lane is huge, because so many people are doing different things that may like not work for you, or maybe they're doing things that are like sacrificing their health and their own like peace of mind and different stuff that they need to they'd probably be better off focusing on, because you see so many people, especially in health and fitness, that they do achieve the goal really, really quick, but they end up going right back to where they were because they didn't do it in a sustainable way. And I think that that's where the speed, what we want is speed, is because we see everybody else doing this and preaching these different things that they're claiming that they can help you lose X amount of pounds in X amount of time. And it's really enticing because we want to get from this painful state to this happy state that we think we're going to be happy in as soon as possible. So wanted to wrap up there, but hope you guys enjoyed this. If you do, drop us a like, drop us a comment, share it with somebody who you think could benefit. But otherwise, we hope you have a good rest of the day, good rest of the week. We'll be talking to you soon.